Confessions of an Accountant, where no topic is off the ledger.
So yeah, like I was saying, I think yeah, thank you for this. It gives me the opportunity to talk about something a bit different. It allows me to talk about something that's had a massive impact on my life in terms of um, business and lifestyle and that sort of stuff, but also like, you know, enabling me to think about my thoughts and think with intent and summarizing and acknowledging the way I think and the impact that it has on my life. So yeah, I wanted to deliver something that I hope if people could take away one small snippet from this presentation or these slides this morning, then that's been worth it. Donna, will you keep me on time just because I've done this twice kind of this morning. One was kind of 20 minutes and the other one was kind of 38 minutes. So I want to
You're
make sure
fine.
that
You've easily got a good half an hour if you need it.
okay, cool. But essentially, like where this all started for me was in 2017, and it was as a result of I don't know if like the social media algorithms just got me one day and just started pumping me more law of attraction stuff. But in 2017, I began to see all of these kind of celebrities, athletes, um, you know, people who have kind of had some success in their own right talk more and more about this law of attraction thing, which I'd never heard of before. And it was actually an interview, like I just said with Al, it was actually an interview between Conor McGregor, the UFC fighter, and Tony Robbins, them talking about the law of attraction that made me think, right, I'm going to go and see what this is, what this law of attraction thing is. No idea what it is, but I'm going to go and kind of research it. And very quickly, it led me to this book. And this book is by Rhonda Byrne. It's called The Secret, which I have right here. I've actually got multiple copies of this in my house. I think it's so important. I wish I'd read this when I was kind of like 17, 18 years old. But I'm going to make sure that my kids, like as they're growing up and they're getting into a bit of reading, I'm going to make sure this is one of the books that they read. And it's actually only one of the books, probably one of 10 books I've read cover to cover. But what I'm going to cover off today in a very kind of short presentation is essentially some of the key principles that are in this book that has kind of like led to me just I suppose like the outcome that we're all looking for in life is a bit of contentment. Like just that's like the biggest thing for me that I've found that this kind of book has led me to. So um, they talk about these people that were online were talking about this, and that's what kind of where my journey started really. But what this book says and what the law of attraction suggests is that like attracts like. So if you are somebody that thinks positively, has positive mental thoughts, you will attract positive experiences, situations, people, things into your life. And if you're somebody who has a more negative mindset, a more negative way of thinking, then you're going to be thinking more negatively. You're going to be attracting more negative people, experiences, situations, and things into your life. It suggests that what you think about is what you become. Your mind is a magnet. So the things that you are thinking about, you are attracting more into your life. And your life right now is a reflection of your past thoughts. So where you are in your life today, house, home, people, energy, things, everything is as a result of the way that you thought in the last X amount of years that you've been able to think. What it also suggests is that your thoughts become frequency and that you are a human transmission tower. Now, what that means is as you put thoughts out there into the universe and into your life, um, you're where a satellite tower or transmission tower submits out a frequency and the picture hits our TVs in our living rooms, what our mind is doing is putting out a frequency and the picture isn't hitting the TV, it's building our life. So, what you see around you in your life is the picture that your frequency, your mind, and your thoughts are creating. And essentially, one of the things that Al's already picked up on from the book, another big part of the book is the power of gratitude, um, and how a gratitude mindset is a very powerful mind habit I'm going to touch on that in a second as well. But just to cover off your mind frequency and thoughts, like frequency is thoughts, and the fact that your mind is a transmission tower. If I just move the box over here for a second. Um, yeah, like I say, so those thoughts are going off, they're creating the life around you. And essentially, if you want to change anything in your life, then you have to start by changing the frequency, changing the channel, which is therefore changing your thoughts. But when you kind of look at this guy in the image here on the left, I would ask kind of people, what frequency are you on? Are you on a positive frequency? Are you on a more negative glass half empty frequency? So a positive frequency is I can attract good things. I can do this. I will do this. I am enough. This power of love, gratitude, joy. And then you get, and we all kind of have them in our lives, people who are kind of on a more negative frequency where they kind of look for the negative in things. Like I just bought a new house. I was showing my dad, giving him the ground tour at the weekend, and all he did was walk around and pick out all the negative things. Oh, that kind of light bulb's not working. The guttering's fallen down over here. I'm like, Dad, like, look at this differently. Look at things, look at this from a more positive lens. But the one thing that I would say with kind of like positive and negative thinkers, and what I don't want this to come across as today is that, you just got to think positive all the time and be positive and blah, 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 and all that stuff. Like, it's sometimes and we all do it. I don't think like that all the time. It's thoughts are habits. And it's if people are in that kind of negative vibrational frequency, it's how do you break the habit? And I've got in here a couple of tips that will help, and I know helped me go from actually my thoughts being blown around in the wind and life just happening to me to actually taking control of my thoughts and my thinking and thinking with intent, thinking with purpose, thinking with the visualization in mind, thinking gratitude as well. Like you can't just be grateful all the time. There's a couple of tips that I've got in this presentation that will begin to shift the habit of looking for the negative in things to thinking more about gratitude and positive thinking. Because I know this isn't, it's a bit like learning to drive a car. You don't kind of get in the car on day one and know how to drive. It's a 12-month process or longer, or even still today. Like, I have kind of negative thoughts all the time. It's not something that's, just this is the way, just be positive thinking all the time. But it's a learning process for sure. If I can just flick my mine up. There we go. So just one of the things I want to touch on quickly. If you think you're lucky, you're lucky. If you think you're unlucky, you're unlucky. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. We've all heard that one before. But there was an experiment a number of years ago where this team wanted to kind of test this theory on if you think you're lucky or you think you're unlucky, what impact is this having on your life? So they had loads of applications come in. It was all documented, all on TV. It was really interesting. They rejected all of the applications, and then 2 years later, they chose two people, one person who thought they were lucky, one person who thought they were unlucky, and they began to conduct a number of tests on these two people. They were both pub landlord owners, and these tests went on. But the two that stick out in my mind, one of the tests was they had a £20 note, and as these pub landlord owners left the pub, they kind of like had it on a fishing line and kind of wheeled in this kind of £20 note. The unlucky guy could not see it for Adam, could not see this £20 note flicking around in the wind. The lucky pub landlord, walks out of the pub, sees it straight away, picks it up, goes, oh, that's quite cool. The next test they did was they set up a broken down van outside of each of their pubs that they ran. And the driver of the van was standing outside when the unlucky pub landlord owner walked outside of the pub. The van driver said, oh, hello, mate, look, I've just broken down, wheels come off, da-da-da, can you help me? The unlucky pub landlord went, no, I'm sorry, mate, I'm busy, got stuff to do, got to go sort of thing. The pub landlord who thought he was a lucky character, lucky guy, says, yeah, sure, no problem, I'll help, and, we'll get the fan fixed and put the wheel back on, and they managed to get it done in half an hour. The van driver then turns around to the lucky landlord pub owner and says, I've got Peter Kay in the back of the van. We're just on our way to the Manchester Arena to do a gig. He said he can do half an hour gig in here tonight as a thank you for helping us fix the van. Peter Kay, the comedian, does the half-hour gig. The pub sells out. He sells more alcohol and beer in one night than he would normally do in a month. Um, and it's just the moral of the story is if you're somebody in that kind of negative frequency, that negative vibration, it impacts every single decision that you make every single day. But vibration moves up and down. So something else I'm going to cover in a minute as well is your thoughts often mirror the way that you're feeling and your vibration. So that's just kind of one of the things that I wanted to kind of to cover off really, that ultimately your level of vibration or your frequency that you're on in terms of your mindset determines every little decision that you make during the day. So if you're somebody who lives in a negative kind of vibration or mindset or frequency, it's how many of those Peter Kay moments are you missing? How many opportunities, job opportunities, clients, work relation, love, relationships, friendships, partnerships, how many are we missing by living in this kind of state of vibration or this kind of negative frequency? I'm going to come back to all of that as well, by the way. The power of gratitude. Al has already touched on it. But the power of gratitude and being thankful for the things that we have, I know has certainly helped my mindset, my positivity, my kind of contentment levels and happiness levels. And what I try and do every day is I just try and take some time, sometimes it's 30 seconds, sometimes it's 10 minutes, and just think about things that I'm grateful for in life. And it doesn't have to be houses or material things. It can be for having food on the table, roof over our heads, for our health. Like my 6-year-old is deaf, and when he hits his teenage years, he's going to begin to lose his vision as well. And it's like, we take even sight for granted. We should be so thankful for being able to see and being healthy and stuff. So it's such a powerful, it's such a powerful feeling, and it's such a powerful habit to get into that it can raise your vibration, even if it's a couple of knots up. If you're in a negative frequency or vibration, or you're in a neutral state, it can really have a massive impact on your work and on your relationships and connections and that kind of stuff. And for me, like I read this in the book, and then it was trying to get into the habit of doing it. Like I often forgot, like I would do it once and then forget for a number of weeks. So what I did was I bought a wristband and I got gratitude imprinted on the inside of it. So whenever I took it off or put it on, or I was driving and I noticed it kind of flicker, I would think about things that I'm grateful for in my life. And I now don't need the wristband anymore because I'm kind of consciously doing it on a regular basis. But it's just that's a really powerful way to, or at least a first step for anybody that is living in a kind of, people have got all sorts of kind of things happening in their lives. Like I completely get that. But if you need one small step, and it might be just this one thing you might take from today's session, it might be that this could be the first step to begin to retrain your brain, start the process of getting into, if not positive, more neutral frame of mind, and it can have a massive impact. So yeah, just something in the book. It doesn't say buy a wristband. It says to get like a stone, to have like a stone in your pocket, and every time you empty your pockets, you kind of notice this stone, and you kind of think of some things that you're grateful for in your life. So the next thing that I kind of look that fits hand in hand with the law of attraction is the law of vibration, and this is something that's not talked about enough. Bob Proctor he's not alive anymore, but all of his content, his courses, everything is still on YouTube, and it's all there. And now another lady's kind of picked it up and runs the Proctor Institute. And he talks that this is kind of like the law of vibration is the underlying law of the law of attraction. Like he says, this is more important than the law of attraction, because you have to understand that everything in the universe vibrates, including human beings. And what you've got here on the left-hand side is this kind of vibration chart. So we've got kind of like, I can't see, let's move this. Video box across. Um, and essentially, what it suggests is that as human beings, we're always in a certain state of vibration. Like today, because I've been doing this work, and I've been kind of getting all these words back in my head and like having to put this all together, I'm actually feeling like really high today, which I reckon I'm like a 540 joy kind of state of vibration today because I'm feeling really inspired. I'm talking about all these things like words are energy as well. And because I'm talking about all this stuff, it's just made me feel really good. Um, but what it suggests is we're always in a certain state, whether it's low, high, neutral. You know, if you've just had some liberating information come into your life, then you're going to kind of go up the scale of vibration. If you've watched something devastating happen on the news or somebody at work has really pissed you off or whatever, it then sends your vibration down. So we've always got to be conscious that as a human, we're always in a certain level of vibration. Sometimes it's low, sometimes it's high. And some of the things that impact your vibration is everything that your mind consumes. So I don't watch the news anymore. I just don't. Like, I don't know what's going on in the world because I found that when I watch the news, and this happens certainly during COVID, and I think a lot of people got turned off by the news during COVID, was the news was lowering my vibration and lowering my mood. And if my mood and my vibration is low, that's impacting all the little decisions that I'm making during the day. So, what impacts your vibration? The news, just these are just some examples. The news, people around you, social media, another one. I don't go on social media anymore. I go on LinkedIn is the only social media platform I will use actively. The rest I just stay away from. What you read, what you watch on YouTube and on videos, your own internal thoughts, your environment, the weather. I mean, the weather just does. I mean, when the sun's out, we normally are more joyful and things are better. When the weather's crap, like it's sometimes hard to shift your mood away from that. But other things that can impact your vibration, food, like if you've eaten crap, like every time I eat at McDonald's, you know, it sends me down to the guilt level of vibration and a lower level of feeling. Or if I've had a bad week on food, then that will make me feel like crap and that will impact my decision making. For me, when I'm hungover, like when I've been boozing and I'm the night before and I like my vibration and my frequencies are really low. If you had an argument with someone, like people is the big one, right? Like we've all been there. There's an office and there's somebody that is they're in a negative vibration, they're in a negative mood, they're fairly negative people. You go and chat to them and then you feel like shit afterwards and you wish you'd never spoken to them. And the way I see this is if you imagine like zooming out from the world and you can see people and people are just kind of and you fast forward it and you kind of see people just buzzing around. If you kind of like take that analogy and put it on like a pool table and you've just got these pool balls or snooker balls just kind of like bashing around on this snooker table, some are low vibrating, some are high vibrating, and they like atoms, right? It's like atoms. And you see kind of one high vibrating atom bump into a neutral vibrating atom or human or snooker ball, it impacts it, and it kind of and that's what we are as humans. We're just energy. We're atoms of energy vibrating at different levels, and ideally, you want to be vibrating with more positive people, or if there are people that are negative vibration and frequency or neutral, then we can maybe help bring them up. Um, but that's all we are. We're balls of energy. But these are all the things and more that impact where you sit on this vibration scale. But ultimately, your thoughts mirror your vibration. I'll give you an example. If I'm in the office and Sarah comes in and says, Dan, I've got this amazing new business idea, new venture, or new thing we can do with the business that's going to drive revenue and do X, Y, Z. It's going to be amazing. But I've just watched the news, or I've watched something negative, or I've just had a bust up with the missus, or something else has impacted my vibration, and I'm low, and I say, Sarah, like, yeah, not today. Like, I don't want to do it. It doesn't sound like, start picking out all the holes in it, and like my dad with the gutter in, and light bulbs that aren't working. You just you don't do it. You end up not doing it. Or if someone comes in, Dan, we're going to dinner tonight. Do you want to join us? No, I can't do it tonight, guys. If you flip that on its head and my wife has just told me she's pregnant, or something really positive has happened in my life to do with work, or the kids have just done something cool. Sarah then comes in, same person, same scenario, same words come out of her mouth. And she says to me, Dan, we've got this idea, da 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 da. I say, Sarah, let's do it. Sounds amazing. So it just really highlights that sometimes our thoughts are not really us. It's just where we are sitting on that kind of vibration scale on the left hand side. If you're feeling enlightened, you're going to say yes more. You're going to go out to dinner. You're going to take yourself out of your comfort zone. You're going to do things differently. Versus if you're feeling low and your body feels like crap. Like I know my most negative thinking is done at the beginning of the day because I'm still tired from waking up. My body feels like just aching, and my mindset at the start of the day is not great. And I start to doubt myself, can I do this again? Can I do this next business and or whatever? But actually, by understanding this stuff, you realize that your thoughts are just reflecting how your body is feeling. And if you want to change the way that you're thinking, change your decision making, changing your actions, you got to change what's going into your mind and lift yourself up this vibration scale. And basically, on the right hand side, what it's showing is that it's not just flat all day. Like it's not just going up or it's not just going down. It changes all the time. So your thought processes and your mindset are going to reflect how you're feeling at any given point in the day. So this is why, as a business owner, you want the positive, go-lucky energy in the room ultimately, and they're the people we want to be bouncing off of. So this is kind of where we're at the moment. And just some things that, how am I doing for time? Am I okay? I'm not kind of going over it. So one of the things that I wanted to cover off today, and just what might help some people who are watching this later on YouTube or whatever, is, how do I go from a negative frequency or vibration or that lower end of the vibration scale? How do I get to neutral? Like, how do I just go up a few bits? I think the first step is just acknowledging this stuff and acknowledging that this is real and it works. And that's the very first thing. And then the second step is, right, how do I start thinking? How do I start taking action? So how do you raise your vibration? Ultimately, you change what your mind is consuming and the information you're consuming as a human being and the information that your brain is consuming. And all those, that comes back to that kind of, that image that I showed earlier, that comes back to this. One of the things that I like doing is obviously the kind of gratitude meditation or thought process that I get into. I also think that trying to change or taking the first step to change your thinking habits. And how do you do that? Wristbands, stone in the pocket, something visual that you can see, or something that triggers this. Actually, I'm going to think a bit more positively now. I also like watching kind of motivational YouTube videos. I know that sounds a bit corny and a bit cringy, but there's some really cool motivational videos. Tony Robbins has got loads. There's loads on there online that can lift your vibration, or read a book, or do stuff like this. Get out there and see people. I've also found that for me personally, this is just me, but one thing that really makes me feel better and lifts my vibration is forgiveness. Like forgiving people for stuff they've done really kind of helps me internally, and is good for my soul. And the biggest one, and I've bolded it here, is forgiving yourself. Like we all make mistakes. We all make cock ups. We all say things we wish we hadn't said. We all do things we wish we hadn't done, wish we could take back. But if you can find a space in your head to forgive yourself, man, that was a real game changer for me. And yeah, just yeah, massive, massive. Giving back and helping others is good for your soul and good for raising your vibration and raising your frequency. Exercise, I mean, we've heard that lots of times. People say exercise is good for your head, it's good for your body, good for your head. Well, I completely agree with that. I find that if I miss a few days not doing exercise, my kind of mental thoughts, my vibration starts to lower. So I try and make sure I exercise a few times a week. And if you can say like words like words are energy. So when you say things out loud, or you think of things in your head, they the words will help with vibration or lower vibration as well. They'll impact your vibration. The words that you're saying to yourself, are the words that you're saying out loud. So if you can do some of this stuff, if you can do the exercise, if you can get out there and do some form of exercise for 10 minutes today, or go for a walk, or if you buy a wristband and just start to do a positivity or a gratitude mindset meditation for a minute a day or every other day or whatever, and you can say the words, I'm doing this, or maybe it's setting up a business, or maybe it's coming up with a new idea, or maybe it's reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn that you're kind of like, oh, I don't know whether I should speak to them, or maybe you go to a networking event, or anything that takes you outside of your comfort zone, and you can say the words, I'm doing this, like that, just saying that internally and out loud will get you on a more positive frequency as well. So I've just touched on here just some tips, some takeaways that you might want to bring into how you're working or how you're living or whatever. I've talked about the wristband to trigger positive thoughts. One of the things that I've really got into over the last couple of years is setting goals. Like, I never used to set goals. Like most of us don't. We just kind of like, again, we just let life happen to us. We don't really think with intent. We don't really visualize or manifest or anything like that. I started to write down goals in my phone once a year around the kind of the new year. Wrote down just a list of goals, and I've got into mind movies as well. I don't know if anybody does any mind movies, but basically, mind movies are you get images of how you want to visualize your life. You put it onto some sort of slideshow. You play music in the background. I heard this on online. I don't know if anybody follows a media business called the School of Hard Knocks. This is a guy who goes around, great guy, goes around interviewing celebrities, really wealthy, successful people who have success in their own right. And he talks about, tell me about how you kind of got to where you've got today. Very short, 2-minute clips. And one of the things that this billionaire said was, I do mind movies. So I've got into mind movies, got it on my phone every few days. I remember that it's there, and I kind of press play and just kind of watch this slideshow of where I want my kind of visualizing my life to go. And people's success and visualizations are different, right? Like mine are X, but other people's are Y, Z, and might be fitness related, health related, money related, whatever. But success might be relationship orientated. It could be anything. But just by writing these down and having this kind of visualization, um, and whether you call it manifesting, visualization, or whatever, it just works because this positive frequency and visualization and manifestation that's happening in your life is putting you on a positive frequency, I believe, therefore making these kind of small incremental decisions every day. That if that's not there, again, you're almost letting life happen to you. And all I can say is that for me, like it's changed my life. It really has. And yeah, so really recommend kind of the goal side of things and thinking with intent and just understanding that your thoughts are it's almost like they're almost like a muscle, and going to the gym, you've got to work on them. It's just not something like, you don't want to go, oh, yeah, it's all right, you're positive, I'm going to be positive all the time. It's just not realistic. You've got to work on it. So thinking with intent, wristband to trigger positive emotions, positive thoughts, protect what information comes into your mind at all costs. So whenever, if I am on social media, I'm always analyzing what impact is this having on my mood and on my vibration and on me as a human. And if it's not beneficial, it's sending me downwards, just get rid of it. Like that's why, I mean, I just found that when I was on Instagram, I was flicking through all this stuff, and mine was surfacing up like political stuff, wars, and um, conspiracy, and lots of stuff that I was just like, this is not having a positive impact on my life. So this picture that I showed here of all this stuff that your mind is consuming that's impacting your vibration and whether you're feeling low, neutral, or high, just protect what comes into your mind at all costs. Um, Visualization works. Another person who got me onto visualization was Gary Turner. I don't know if you know guys know Gary, but Gary was the MD of Zero. He picked the business up when the business was doing about £60,000 in revenue a year. Or was that a month? Might have been a month, might have been monthly recurring revenue, 60K monthly recurring revenue, or annual, whatever. But he took it to over 100 million. And I remember him doing a session at Zero with us around the power of, his story and the fact that he always knew what was going to happen happened. And he said visualization works. It just does. Um, so yeah, that for me, and that comes out in the book loads as well. And then my last tip is don't beat yourself up. What I don't want this kind of session to be today is you just need to be positive, think positive all the time, and all that bollocks that you hear online. Loads of people talk about we got to work at it. And there are times, and it happens to me all the time. We're human, and you can't stop negative thoughts coming into your mind and making yourself feel lower. That's just part of being human. We're always going to have it. Even the ultra successful people in their own rights, it's just one of those things. If you do find yourself in a negative frequency, a negative mindset, and thinking negative things, don't beat yourself up. It's just part of the process. It's part of being human. A couple of things that I heard that really, again, changed my life were clouds are like thoughts. They come in, they go. They come in, they go. And it was Denzel Washington that said, something great happens in your life, it too shall pass. If something negative happens in your life, it too shall pass. It too shall pass. It passes through. Um, and when I found myself recently in a real negative headspace, I just kept coming back to this point of thoughts are like clouds. They will move on. And that was massive for me as well. And I'm just going to finish off by just some people that I follow online quite closely, that ultimately have a positive impact on me in my life. Jodie Jackson is actually somebody new that I've connected with on LinkedIn. And she's written a book on this similar sort of stuff around you are what you read, or you are what you see is the name of her book. And essentially, the nuts and bolts of it are the information that you're consuming as a human is impacting your life and the way you feel as a human, and therefore impacting your decision making and your actions. And she's got some really amazing content on YouTube and on LinkedIn. Bob Proctor, who's no longer with us, you've got the Proctor Gallagher Institute, all of his stuff, all of his law of vibration stuff, law of attraction stuff, and he's a massive contributor to this book. This book is actually a film. Have you seen the film out?
Yes, I have
Yeah.
it.
So this book is also a film. I think I watched the film first, actually. It's just a series of interviews of all these people that contributed towards this book. But Bob Proctor's amazing. There's also like a 3-day course that he did years and years and years ago, probably like 20, 30 years ago, that is all online. And I've watched the whole thing from start to finish. It took me days, but it's all on there. And I've completely forgotten the name of it. I can find it and forward it on to everyone.
Brilliant, yeah.
But what he talks about a lot in this course is how the images in your brain and the images in your mind and where you see yourself going future is ultimately what happens. And then Dr. Joe Dispenza, again, goes quite deep. Not only does he talk about thoughts and the power of the mind, he actually gets into the scientific reasons, the scientific evidence behind it all, and how our brains go into different levels of frequency, but different brain waves and different levels and all this kind of scientific stuff. So basically backs up the law of vibration, the law of attraction, scientifically. And he's an amazing guy to follow as well, and is good. But that is all, Donna. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to kind of deliver this stuff. It was amazing for me to put the slides together and to go back into the book, which I haven't done for a while, and just bring this like positive energy back into my life. It's really nice. It was really nice to do. And like I say, if somebody watching can take one thing away from, that short presentation, then, it's worth it.
100%. Thank you so much. Did anyone have any questions for Dan at all? Anything he might have said? Because I know I've got a couple. Oh, Al's got one. Go for it, Al.
No, it's not a question. It's just an observation because it's all really, really great stuff. I've got a good contact actually, Dan. He's a great guy to know. I met him just last week in Somerset. He's a guy called Crosley. And now he studied with Rhonda Byrne and Bob Proctor and
Wow.
a few of them down in Australia, a few years ago. He's a really, really good guy. He's done a book himself where he's put it to plain English. I guess you would have already read Think and Grow Rich, would you, Dan?
Yeah. Bob Proctor, yeah.
Oh
no, Napoleon Hill.
Oh no, Napoleon Hill, yeah.
Napoleon Hill,
But
yeah.
it's just like a Bible to keep going back to, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
I've been in book clubs that we've analysed the chapters and stuff, so it's all brilliant stuff. But no, I'm really glad that you've came along because with this, as you're saying, it's something that a lot of people don't kind of get is it's getting into the right frequency, isn't it? To actually make these things happen.
Yeah. You attract with kind of like frequency in the way that your thoughts are kind of moving out into the universe, you attract more of that stuff. So you attract more people that are on that frequency. Like ever since I started thinking like this in 2017, like it's weird, like situations and scenarios just present themselves where I'm like, how the fuck has this happened? How have I met these people? Like, I'll give you one now, right? So my mission as an entrepreneur is to find a cure for Oscar, my 6-year-old. He's got this genetic eye condition, and my life is going to be dedicated to finding a cure for this now. I've built a business, I've sold it. With that sort of money going towards a laboratory for the people that are trying to find a cure for this thing, I'm speaking with the doctors, the consultants, the top people who are trying to find a cure. They said, Dan, if we can get that sort of, like, we don't get any funding. If we can get that sort of money, we can not only find the condition that Oscar has, but across all genetic eye diseases. So I thought, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to build and sell a company, and you guys are going to get all the money, and we're going to try and find a cure for this stuff. I then moved house, and I moved into a small private community in Hertfordshire, where 3 of the 8 residents work at GSK, GlaxoSmithKline. My next door neighbor is the global head of patents for GSK, GlaxoSmithKline. Like, if this stuff isn't like real, like, and I said to Sue next door, I said, Sue, I felt like we were supposed to meet. Like, I've got this kind of visualization, this manifestation that I'm going to play a serious role in trying to find a cure for these genetic eye diseases. The laboratory is already working, they get limited funding, but we're gonna boost it, and then we're gonna find the cure, and then I'm gonna come to you, and you're gonna help me patent it, and da 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 da. Like it's mental that these things happen by kind of just raising your vibration, your decision making's change. Like another one, because I've kind of got this, because for once in my life I started to get this kind of vision board, or whatever you want to call it, mind movie kind of in there, it then kind of not forces you, but your brain decides to take yourself out of your comfort zone. So I started going on different little networking events and entrepreneur events, and some of the people that I've met now that are on this sort of frequency and are on this kind of mindset and journey are just like mind blowing. And I'm going to dinner with a guy, or going to lunch with him, who's now become a mate of a guy that sold his business for 100 million. And just you attract people into your life. That's the big thing for me. Like, the opportunities in life, I feel like, are from people and people you meet. And you just start attracting people that are on similar frequencies into your life that, can ultimately drive change and good things in the world. So yeah.
Can I ask? Obviously, you said about obviously you moved house and then you find out who your neighbours were was just crazy. That a lot of people who don't obviously follow the law of attraction or know of it or don't necessarily know they're even following it, they would just go, oh, it's fate. I was meant to move to that house. It was fate, as if it would happen regardless. Does fate exist? Does it have a form within the law of attraction or
Yeah,
vibration?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like fate is, I believe in it. Yeah. I believe that certain things are supposed to happen in our lives. I believe that certain things happen for certain reasons. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You can never see what's around the corner.
Yeah.
Like the Chinese farmer story where the Chinese farmer kind of manages this whole farm by himself, like with a kind of him and his rake, and then all the locals go, "Cool, that must be hard work doing all this by yourself." And he goes, "Maybe, maybe not." The next day, a horse shows up to help him with the fields and get things done quicker. All the locals say, "God, that's amazing. You've got this kind of horse that's come to help you." He goes, "Maybe, maybe not." The next day, the horse runs off into the wild and they go, "God, that must be shit. Your horse has just run off." And he goes, "Maybe, maybe not." The next day, the horse comes back with 20 other horses. They all get the farm done even faster. All the locals can say, "Oh, that's amazing. You've got 20 horses that can now help you do the farm." He goes, "Maybe, maybe not." A week later, his son falls off the horse, breaks his leg.
Oh,
I think, "Oh no, that must be terrible. Your son's broken his leg." And he says, "Maybe, maybe not." A month later, the Chinese army come around trying to recruit people, but they can't recruit his son to go into the army because he's got a broken leg, blah, blah, blah. So the moral of the story is sometimes shit things happen in your life,
yeah.
but it leads to something else.
Mm.
It just leads to something else. When my wife and I, we were in the Middle East working, and we thought this was going to be the dream. We're going to work out here for 5 years. We're going to be tax free. We're going to be mortgage free when we go back home. It got cut short after 12 months, and our dreams were like decimated. We were like, bloody hell, like, this wasn't supposed to happen, sort of thing. So we kind of went through this period of like, not mourning, but just upset with the world, I suppose. Got back. That led me to doing my job at zero. That led me to doing what I'm doing now, selling the business next year, last year, whatever. So, like, yeah, I absolutely believe in fate, Donna. It is a big part of the book as well. So yeah, things are meant to happen, I believe. What is the underlying energy or force of fate?
Yeah.
Who
Who knows?
knows? Is there a creator? Is there something else happening in the world? Is there some higher power, higher being, that is dictating certain things? I believe so. That's my personal belief. Things have happened in my life that, good or bad. Um, yeah, I believe there's something else out there, you always get people that, and what this has also done for me personally, where I'm just conscious I'm rabbiting on a little bit and I'm conscious of
No.
time. But what this has also led for me, and where this kind of journey has kind of ended up me going down, is certainly more down a spiritual path as well. Like, so that's been great for me.
Mhm.
But ultimately, like at the very least, what this has done, the book and believing in this stuff, has just made me think, do you know what? Maybe my thoughts and my thinking and the words that I use in my head or the images that I use in my head do have some sort of impact on my life. And if you can understand that and you can begin to experiment a little bit with it, start getting ambitious,
Yeah.
start thinking about things that we may have seen a glass ceiling on. Actually, go, do you know what? I'm going to start thinking that this might be possible. Like anybody that came to the show last year, I started with the opening of the show, the music and the lights and stuff. The kind of opening um, screen or slide was when the odds are 1 in a million, be that one.
Yes.
And that's just like, be ambitious. We only get one go at this life. Why not? Why not give it a go? Or why not get in the gym or go for dinner with someone or whatever? Why not?
I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I think it's really interesting hearing how you look at everything. And you can definitely hear it in a lot, like you say, of successful people. They have themes of this running through what they claim the success is down to. And I know James Ashford always says, look for the gift in every problem because there's got to be one. And once you can find that, then you find your way out of it without looking at it as a negative thing necessarily. So it's you've gone into in some really good detail for us and some really good takeaway tips for that. So I really appreciate it.
No
It's
worries.
been fascinating for everyone. And I've made a note of the books and the people you've said about following, so I should give that a go. Um, obviously I've met Dan in person before at the Digital Accountancy Show, but I also have been chatting to him through LinkedIn. So if you're not connected with Dan, by all means, connect up with him and give him a follow and see what he's up to with his exciting ventures. And obviously, we're very much looking forward to you finding the cure for the genetics eye diseases.
Thanks, Donna.
And in some ways, you know, when you kind of go, well, if you're looking for an explanation, potentially you were the right person with the right means to be able to solve not only that, but like you say, lots of other conditions for lots of other
Absolutely.
people. Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for everyone. And thank you again to Dan for joining us today.
Confessions of an Accountant, where no topic is off the ledger.